Is Gladiator 2 a worthy sequel from the first film that came out 24 years ago in the year 2000? Let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my Gladiator 2 movie review. And if this is your first time finding me and you happen to like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Gladiator 2, guys, when this was first announced, I said to myself, why in the world are y'all making this? Please spend your money, time, and resources somewhere else. You do not need a sequel from this legendary classic film right here. But nobody wanted to listen to me. They made it anyway. This is being directed by Mr. Ridley Scott. And, Ridley Scott, a talented filmmaker, but he is half and half. If you go to his filmography, of course, he did Napoleon, which came out last year. I could not stand that movie. I thought it was awful. But he did House of Gucci. I haven't seen it. He did Raised by Wolves, and I heard some interesting things about that. But Alien Covenant, I did not like. But The Martian was phenomenal. It won Best Picture that year in 2015, and it deserves it. This movie is a 10 out of 10. Perfect. If I was still watching cable and flipping through channels, anytime The Martian was on, I would just stop and watch it wherever it is in the duration. I love that movie. Exodus, Gods and Kings was trash. But Prometheus, I really did like Prometheus. I did like Robin Hood. I did like Body of Lies, and I loved American Gangster, and I hated the theatrical version of Kingdom of Heaven. People told me that the director's cut is much better, but again, like Ridley Scott, he's hit or miss. He is hit or miss, but hopefully Gladiator 2 is a hit. Now, as far as my expectations are concerned, once they didn't want to listen to me and decided to make the film anyway, I found out that Denzel Washington was attached to this. I was like, okay, automatic. I'm going to go see this film. I want to see it just because he's in it. Then I saw the trailer. The trailer looked pretty decent. A lot of people were complaining about the music choice, the music selection. It really didn't bother me. I thought it helped elevate the film and promote it, but other people didn't feel that way. But I was still very excited about this. I was going in just saying, okay, it may not be as good as the first, but then I changed my mind like, no, it could be as good as the first. And that's what I was expecting. And I'm going to answer that question for you. So guys, before we get into all the nitty gritty, before we talk about all my likes and dislikes, let me tell you exactly what Gladiator 2 is all about. After his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum and must look to his past to find strength to return the glory of Rome to its people. All right, guys, the first thing that I really did like about this film is the action to a degree, and there's a reason why I said to a degree. But when it does come to the action, for the most part, it is lovely. It's everything that you want an action movie to be, especially when you're seeing it in the theaters. And you don't have to wait that long to get it. It's the opening scene of the film, and it is pretty badass. They are trying to take on this city, and they're using all types of cannons and fireballs and bows and arrows. And I love the way it's choreographed. While I was watching this scene, I was saying to myself, how long did it take to film this? This is not a bunch of, well, I'm pretty sure there was some CGI in this when they had a bunch of wide shots just kind of showing the ships come in on shore. But when they got to the close-ups and were showing large groups of people in front of a gate, them just going back and forth, hatcheting each other with their swords, axes, shooting each other with their bows and arrows, I thought it was great. It was some of the best action that I've seen in a film in theaters and quite some time. And that sound design and mixing helped elevate it too. At the time of this recording, I would have seen the film twice. First, I saw it in the IMAX theater at Cinemark. Then I saw it at an IMAX theater in AMC. And to be honest with you, I think I enjoyed the experience more at AMC. The sound was just that much better, in my opinion. But it was dope. Like, you want to see this in theaters if you do get a chance. Don't wait for it to come out on streaming. Most of you won't, but I did notice a big difference in the sound design and the mixing, especially with this giant bombastic action at the very beginning of the movie. If you just want some action, you will not be disappointed in this film. But the thing that I did not like about the action sometimes is it was a bit unrealistic if you have to compare it to the first film. There's a scene to where, and I think it's in the trailers, to where, and they're in the Coliseum, and it's filled to the brim with water, and they have sharks everywhere. Now, the fighting itself was still entertaining. There was one point I was like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen right now? Is this character going to succeed, or are they going to kill this other person? Of course, I'm not going to answer that for you here, but the whole sharks and water thing was just a bit too much for me. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm just not really feeling that right there. I still want to talk about the action because, again, the hand-to-hand was great, and it was not that much. But the reason why I said to a degree is they still had some hand-to-hand, but there was one particular scene to where they took away the hand from hand. It wasn't humans versus humans. It was some humans, some gladiators versus some monkeys versus some orangutans. And I don't mind that at all, especially if you want to change up things from the first film and give the audience something fresh and new. I applaud that all day. The bad part is those CGI monkeys, orangutans, the CGI was crap. The CGI was bad. It was not good. And in my opinion, when you have a film like this, we have Pedro Pascal, Ridley Scott, Denzel Washington, Gladiator from 24 years ago, one of the best films in Hollywood in the past few decades. You're going to have a budget. And with this type of budget, it's no excuse for your CGI monkeys or CGI sharks to look like crap. Look at Rise of the Planet of the Apes and the whole Planet of the Apes franchise, or Avatar, or any other films right now circulating in theaters on streaming that have large budgets. Those CGI elements and animals didn't look like crap, but the ones in this one, like, what are we doing here? This is like it came out in like 1992, and there's just no excuse for that. It was really jarring and kind of clocked me out, and I was like, okay, the action was so good, and this scene was at the very beginning, but I can't get into it as much as I want because this CGI sucks. One thing I also want to note is you don't have to see the first film to enjoy this one or to understand it. They do give a brief summary towards the beginning of this to try to wrap everything up for you. There's no dialogue or subtitles. It's just a bunch of pictures with color, but you know, still, in my opinion, you don't have to see the first film. If you do, you'll have a better appreciation for this, but it's just not necessary at all. However, going back to some things that I did like about the film are the characters. There's only two that return from the first film. Of course, we have Connie Nielsen playing Lucilla. She was the daughter of Marcus Aurelius from the first film, who was murdered by Commodus. And then there's another gentleman that was a background character. He popped up in this as well. But I liked her. You know, she was fine. She did a decent job in this. But her son, Lucius, who was the little boy who is now grown, I liked him a lot. Now, he is not Maximus. He is not Russell Crowe from the first film, but he is the leading man. Is he as good? No, but is he still good? Yes, I did like him. Is Paul Mescal? I'm not the biggest fan of his work before this film, but I am now. Anytime I see him popping up in some trailers or movie promotions for a new movie, I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, that was the guy from Gladiator 2. He did a great job in that film. I want to see what this is about. I'm going to support this man because he did a great job. I really did like his manliness in this film. He was very strong, and I love the way he presented himself too. Ladies, if you're into this type of thing, if you just want to look at somebody that's swole with a bunch of muscles with their shirt off, you will have a great time with this film. And another thing is I liked about his strength was he knew that he was strong, but he was very, very humble and just wanted to live a simple life with his wife. And that's not too much to ask for. I respect that wholeheartedly. Another thing that I liked about his characters, he was not afraid of authority. It didn't matter who you were, whether you was the president of the United States or a janitor, and none of those existed in this film. He would talk to you the same, whether that's good or bad, and I respect it. He didn't put people on a pedestal, you know, and so I can always get behind people like that that treat people equally. And he was also very courageous. He took some risk in this film and was going for it, and really didn't care what happened to him, what the repercussions would be, what the consequences would be. He just wanted to accomplish his mission, and whatever happened to him afterwards just didn't matter. And again, I respect that. I like characters like that. I would want to follow him. If he was like, hey, we're gonna go do this, I'm like, okay, hey man, I support you because you're cool. Let's go do it. Let's go knock this out. Now, as far as Denzel Washington is concerned, he's the main reason why I wanted to see this film. And he did a great job. He did a decent job. But at the same time, he didn't do anything special. I can't walk away like I did in American Gangster like, oh my gosh, Denzel's performance in that movie was, ooh, man, wait till you see it. And he said this, and we're quoting this line. It's nothing like that. He was fine. He didn't do a bad job at all, not remotely. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where Denzel did a bad job, so that's impossible here. But at the same time, he did not blow me away. Something that is a bit frustrating to me is they didn't fully address what his character arc was or what his objective was. I mean, we got a little bit of his backstory, and I know that he is holding a chip on his shoulder, and I don't blame him for that at all. But I want to know what is going to happen next. What do you foresee the future to be if you are able to accomplish your mission? But I kind of just wish they would have drawn that out a little bit more so that I could try to sympathize with the character, but I was just like, okay, this is just another person just wants things the way they want them to be for whatever reason. You have to see the film to know exactly what I'm talking about with that reason. Now, when it comes to Pedro Pascal, I liked him. I liked him a lot. There needed to be more screen time. I liked the fact that he was a leader, he was a general, and he was not afraid to lead. He was a type of person to where it's just like, okay, I'll just have to get out there and do it myself. Kind of like Thanos. He did not rely on anybody else to seize the day to accomplish a mission. Yeah, he did make assignments here and there, like, okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and you do this. But if they dropped the ball, he wasn't assigning anyone else new to do it. He would jump in there himself and also be at the front line. And I also like the when he was fighting, the way that he would command his troops. He would not panic looking around like he doesn't know what's happening. Somebody by him would die. He'd turn around, identify the threat. Archers, shoot right there, kill them. Zoom, 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 zoom. And then he's on to the next. I'm like, damn, that was pretty efficient right there. This guy knows what he's talking about. So again, I can always get behind characters like that no matter what side of the goal line he's on. He was a dope ass character in this film. Now, as far as the emperors are concerned in this movie, they were a bit over the top ridiculous. Oh my God, the gods have spoken. It's just spitting saliva going everywhere. I'm just like, dude, will you sit down? And why the hell are you so pale? Was that in style back then with all the white makeup? I mean, I know it was, but I just didn't like it. And these characters are designed for you not to like them. They are assholes. They are just the worst of the worst of the worst. However, they could have drawn out their characters a bit more. People are not really thrilled with the way that they're ruling Rome and want to take it over. But if that's the case, you have to give me a reason why we have to hate them other than you just saying that they are the bad guys. And that didn't happen. They could have easily just had a scene of them beating innocent people, raping innocent people. Not that I would want to see that, but those are things to where you're going to be like, oh my God, these characters are so evil. I can't wait for somebody to come and chop their heads off. Like, give me a reason why they're so bad and that nobody likes them in Rome other than your dialogue. So they kind of dropped the ball right there, in my opinion, and that shouldn't have been the case. It just shouldn't. Another miss for me in this movie was the score. I'm not saying that it's bad, but that was one of the many standouts in Gladiator 2000, was the music, was the score, was the composition. They had great music in this movie, but it did not come remotely close to what they did in 2000. Now, I don't understand that. Like, just bring the people back or the same energy. There was one song that repeated itself, but I just was not moved by this movie at all when it comes to the sound, other than the actions, but the music and the score, just like, what happened to it? It just was somewhat non-existent, unfortunately. Now, something else that I just did not like in this film is there are certain character deaths that are significant, but they rush through it so quickly and just don't let it simmer. They're moving on to the next scene. Like, no, this is an important character and they died. Can we please get some aftermath? Why are they dying? And then the scene just cuts to the next portion of the film and we're moving on. That happened at least 3 or 4 times. And I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. What is going on? Like, we're just going to brush over this. This is a big deal. We need to see how people are going to react to this. And that's just not the case. I mean, we got some reactions here or there, but it should have been much bigger, much more significant. And I just don't like how they kind of just swept it under the rug. Like, okay, this character's dead now. Let's move on. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Now, one of the main corporates in this film is, if it wasn't obvious to you already, I did enjoy Gladiator 2, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. And I think that's the universal feeling for this film. I could be wrong. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Besides all of the reasons why I just listed, it just comes down to the characters. I felt much more for the characters in the first film than I do in this one right here. I was just able to sympathize with them much more. The first film was much more personal between the characters and intimate. And we really got to know Maximus and what he cared about. He was done with the war and just wanted to go live on his farmland with his wife and his kid and just live happily ever after. And then that was just taken away from him. And he was a general at the top and was knocked all the way down to the bottom and had to work his way up for revenge. And there's just no type of sentiments like that remotely close in this film. And just the acting was so much better in the first film too. Not saying that this movie had horrible acting or anything like that. It's just that it was just better. It was more superior in the first film. And again, I just cared about the characters much more in the first one. Here, we're kind of just meeting them at random points in their life. And that may not make sense, but I just wanted more for the characters. I just did not want them, I wanted them to win, but I wanted more for them. And I just didn't get that. It was entertaining. I did feel that the ending was a bit rushed, and I just wanted it to just cook a little bit more. Just let it simmer on the stove. Let's add some seasoning in this pot right here. And no, that's just not the case. I mean, I do like warming up my food in a microwave. It can taste good, but the first film was an oven. The second film was, I don't want to say a microwave, I'll say a toaster oven. So the first film was a barbecue grill or oven. This second film right here, it is a toaster oven or a really, really, really nice microwave. I don't know if I want to give it an air fryer, but because air fryers are dope. But yeah, we'll again, first film is a barbecue pit or oven. The second film is a toaster oven or really, really nice advanced microwave. It's still passing. It's still a great film, but the first film was a masterpiece, and I just can't say that about Gladiator 2. I will go ahead and give my rating for this at the very end, but for now, guys, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 75,000 subscribers as soon as I possibly can. And guys, me and my homie Malcolm, the guy I started my channel with, we may be doing a spoiler review for this film, so make sure you subscribe, come through for all that. We're gonna have a good time. So guys, if I had to rate Gladiator 2 out of a 1 out of 10, I am gonna give Gladiator 2 a 7.5 out of 10. Yes, a 7.5 out of 10. But guys, again, I just wanna thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery. That's just my opinion. Peace, and I'll see you next time.